Hi, good morning, everybody. Thank you for joining us today for the next webinar of the Microdrink project. We will have two presentations today, and then also a brief introduction of the Microdrink project. My name is Gábor Bordós. I'm coming from Eurofins Analytical Services Hungary. We are a chemical laboratory participating in this project with mainly with microplastics analysis. And today you will hear a general presentation about the Microdrink project, then a presentation by Mohammad Al-Qadi from the Microdrink knowledge base, and then I will talk a little bit about legislations and standardizations on the field of microplastics. I see that many people are still coming. Nevertheless, we will start very soon with the first presentation. So let's talk a little bit about the Microdrink project. What is this? Who we are? What we are aiming for? Microdrink stands for capacity building for management and governance of microplastics in drinking water resources of the Danube region. This is part of the priority program 2, a greener low carbon Danube region, and priority specific objective 2.3. We are running for 30 months during 5 periods, each period with 6 months, and we started in 2024. We have 8 countries in the projects. From these 8 countries, we have 11 project partners and 19 associated strategy partners, and we have over 2 million euros total project budget, and almost 2 million euros is coming from Interreg funds. And this project is or will be and is conducted during the Interreg Danube region program. So here you see the partnership. We have these countries in the Danube region, and you see all the project partners from these countries that are participating in the project. And today you will hear the presentation from Eurofins and Friedrich Alexander Universität Erlangen-Nürnberg. What are the project objectives? There are 3 specific objectives of the project. The first specific objective is to develop transnational knowledge base on microplastics in the Danube region, drinking water resources. We have conducted several surveys in the past couple of months, several stakeholder workshops, and we summarize these results. So Mohammad will introduce this knowledge base very soon. There is specific objective 2, which is the occurrence of microplastics in the water environment used for drinking water supply. So we will conduct microplastic samplings and knowledge transfer on microplastic sampling. Partners will investigate microplastics on their own pilots in every country with the help of the national labs, and we will also act as a central lab to parallelly analyze different samples. And then we have the specific objectives 3, which is capacity building for management of microplastics in drinking water facilities, which is one of the main goals of this project to get a good capacity building at the end. What are the outputs and the results? So from the specific objective 1, we will have harmonized microplastic approach at EU and non-EU level, contributing to enhanced cooperation and knowledge exchange beyond borders, uptake of harmonized best practices, and from objective 2, we will have the best monitoring practices shared across the region. And then from specific objective 3, we will have the microdrink board, which is a transboundary collaboration of experts. And then we will have a decision-making support tool for microplastics. So this was the brief introduction of the microdrink project. And now I would like to ask you if you agree to turn on your cameras. So we will do some screenshots for administrative reasons. I'm very glad and very thankful that almost 80 participants are here. Yeah, thank you very much. Please keep your cameras turned on for 1 or 2 minutes more because it's going to take a while. But meanwhile, I'm handing over to Mohammad Al-Qadi, who is going to introduce the microdrink knowledge base.
Thank you, Gabor.
So, sorry, Mohammad, before you start, just one more thing. You can add your questions into the chat box, and we will have the Q&A session after all the presentations. Thank you, Moha. You can start.
Okay. Yeah, hi everyone. See my mouse. Huh? Okay. Okay, you see the presentation, right?
Yes, you can start.
Okay. Hello, everyone. Thank you, Gabor, for the introduction. My name is Mohammad Al-Qadi, and I work at Friedrich Alexander University, Erlangen. And today we will give overview about the microdrink knowledge database, and it's a continuation of the previous presentation that we gave last week in the first webinar on the 4th of December. As an overview, okay. I have to share the screen again, maybe. It's not moving, right? Ah, now it's moving. I'm sorry for this technical problem. I don't know what's going on.
Try to share it again.
Yeah, I will. It's working now?
Yes, it's working.
Okay, thank you. So yeah, in the beginning, I will give just an overview and about the microplastic and drinking water. What is the source of microplastic and the effect? As we mentioned in the previous presentation, microplastic are tiny plastic particles originated from various sources. We have like primary sources that are intentionally manufactured in small sizes, like the personal products or the painting, and there's another source, that's secondary source, that is larger size of plastic items that breaks down into smaller particles over time due to the environmental exposures. And these sources are like the car tires or fishing nets and like plastic bags and others. And both treated wastewater, drinking water, and the raw drinking water have been. We have found microplastic in these sources. But even in the treated water, like treated drinking water or the tap water, the microplastic that has been found, although it's treated, but it's not completely eliminated from the drinking water. And according to the research, they say that okay, it's possible to reduce the amount of microplastic in drinking water, but it's difficult to eliminate them completely. So the impact of the drinking water, the impact of the microplastic on ecosystem and human health is still being researched, and we don't have a conclusion related to that, because as I mentioned in the previous presentation in the last webinar, that if we don't have a standardization for microplastic sampling method, analytical method, so we don't have a standardization for interpretation of the results of microplastic. In this map is showing the countries, the 8 countries that are partners in the micro drink project. But here I quoted a study from 2014 that says that the plastic input of the Danube River into the Black Sea is estimated to be 4.2 tons per day. One of the biggest challenges in addressing microplastic, as we mentioned before, is the lack of standardization. There are different methods are used for sampling between countries, but also within the same country. So there is, besides the sampling method, we have different analytical method, different instruments. There are many suppliers, or not many suppliers, but there are different suppliers, and this different variability make it difficult to establish consistency in data collection and comparison. When we think about this problem, there's another part is the legislation and regulation that is related to microplastic. Within the country or across different countries, they are fragmented. We cannot find one location where we can find all the regulation and legislation related to microplastic up to now. Some legislations are regional, while others are national, and this is creating further barriers to have any type of collaboration. Another problem that we face also when we started this project is we found out that the capacity of the lab that work in microplastic is limited. Not many labs in the region have the resources or expertise needed to conduct sampling analysis for microplastic. there is a high cost for the equipment, as we mentioned in the last presentation, and it needs skilled technicians to do the sampling and the analytical methods. Also, there is and that means that the ability to study microplastic across the different regions is limited and unevenly distributed, as also we mentioned in the last webinar, where we say that, okay, some partners, they have work or analyzed microplastic in many water resources, while others, they didn't have any.
Sorry, Moha,
Yeah.
are we still on the map slide? Because it's not moving.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, we are still in the same slide.
Okay, sorry for interrupting.
Okay, because I will show you the tool later. Okay, so these challenges is compounded by is the absence of the centralized platform to share information, and because we don't have one platform to share all this information that we have across this region that you see in the map, it's difficult to cooperate. So the other problem that we found, or we see, that there are many projects, or some projects are carried out or are underway, and they are related to microplastic, but we don't know about them. So it's really difficult to learn from one another and build on the existing knowledge. So to address these gaps that's related to different topic, we developed the Microdrink knowledge base that centralize all the informations related to sampling method, analytical methods, legislation, and labs, and designed to foster collaboration and knowledge sharing and learning across different countries in the region. To have access to this database, you have to go to this website, danube.eu/projects and microdrink, and then you have to go to this microdrink knowledge base. Of course, you can have more information about the project itself within the website, but if you want to go to the microdrink knowledge base, you have to click here, and this will bring you to this central platform for microplastic data, which was made to help researcher, policymaker, and the public, and to promote collaboration within the region, and also for the future international, to build some international collaboration and sharing knowledge. It also helped the local authorities in managing microplastic related data, and it basically lays the ground for further research and policy development. As you see here, we have 6 features that we considered here: sampling method, analytical method, instrument, projects, legislation guideline, and laboratories. And I will go and give like a small introduction of some of them now, and I'll go to the website. Once you enter the microdrink knowledge base, you will enter to this website where we have different features. I will start by the sampling methods. You go to the sampling method, and if you click on here, it will take you to the database itself, where you see the what is the sampling method, what is the description, what you have to do to prepare the sample before you take it to the lab or in the lab, what type of instrument that need to be used for this sampling method, and who are the supplier in the region, in which city or in which region it was used, as well as what are the advantages and disadvantages of this method. This information is not only added by us. Everyone can add this information by filling this form. So if your institute or you as a person worked with an instrument, or you do use sampling method, you can add here your experience, where you can add also the advantages and disadvantages of the sampling method, or even if you are if you know a supplier who supply like a filtration kit for sampling drinking water for microplastic, so you can add the information here. The other tabs, of course, there are like all these tabs, but I will go just to 2 or 3. The project. It's a similar way. If you're working in any project, you can add your information here, and in this way you can be your project can be more exposed to other projects, and we can share information and knowledge about the project outcome and your experience in this project. Of course, you can add it here, the name of project, what is it, where is this project conducted, the duration of the project, the partner's website and contact person. And even if you don't have a project and you want to have some information about the projects that being done in different regions, you can go there. And here, for example, up to now we have around 30 or 37 projects that are related to microplastic in drinking water. And you can go to the website, you can see who are the partners, and you can communicate with them, and you see if the project is still done or not. And by the way, if we look at the data, you can filter the data based on the duration, for example, and we can see that the first project that we have recorded here, it was from 2018. Of course, there are many projects maybe before, but for that region, for our experience, we added these projects, and the other partners or stakeholders also added their projects. So you are welcome to add, if you're working in microplastic, to add this project. It shouldn't be only in the Danube region. It can be anywhere in Europe. We are happy to have it. As I mentioned before, you can add all the information here. You submit it, and we will receive this information, and after validation we can add it to this Google Sheet. And thank you.
Thank you very much, Moha, for your presentation.
Yeah.
You can put your questions into the chat box, and we will answer the questions after the presentations. So we will have now the last presentation for today. So I'm just sharing my screen. And now I would like to introduce you a bit into the legislations and standardizations that are ongoing on the field of microplastics. Moha already introduced you a bit into the microplastics topic, but I'm also pretty sure that most of you are aware of this, that we have different sources of microplastics, and whenever it is entering the aquatic environment, we have to sample somehow these microplastics. So there should be some kind of filtration, and then different steps of sample preparation, and then we need to do the analysis and compile the report on microplastics. So that's what we are doing. But what are microplastics? These are plastic particles below 5 millimeter, which is a quite wide, quite broad range in terms of size, because it is very different to analyze a 50 micrometer particle than 5,000 micrometer particle. We know that microplastics are occurring almost everywhere, or probably everywhere, in water, sediment, biota, and every kind of matrices. And even though there is no obvious effects of microplastics, and especially effects on human health, are lacking, we already know that they are posing some harms to the ecosystem because they are uptaken by organisms, and they can translocate to different organs. And also they pose not only a mechanical harm, but they have a chemical, an associated chemical and microbiological harm on their surfaces. So we have to gather data on microplastics, which has been started in the past couple of years, but as there were no standard methods for this, no legislations for this, the data are a bit messy. So we need some standard methods to gather harmonized data, which helps legislation in the future. So what has been happening on the field of legislation of plastics and microplastics? I usually say that the single-use plastic directive that has been released in 2019 is the first step, because even though it's not strictly considering microplastics, it's some kind of prevention of microplastics, because EU is banning here some kind of plastics that has been widely used and unfortunately leaking to the environment in many cases, and thus forming microplastics at the end. Then we have the Drinking Water Directive in 2020 that has called microplastics have to be analyzed during a 5-year period on a watchlist mechanism whenever there will be commonly accepted methodology for this. That was not the case in 2020. In 2021, nothing really happened on the field, but in 2022, in the USA, California state has accepted a regulation on testing microplastics in drinking water, and they also provided the methodological guidelines with FTIR and Raman microscopy parallel to this regulation. And in 2023, we have the REACH regulation that is concerning synthetic polymer microparticles and actually banning the primary microplastics in different products. And then in 2014, we have this Commission delegated act to the EU Drinking Water Directive that compiles methodology on microplastic sampling and analysis in drinking waters. And then we have freshly released directive on the urban wastewater treatment that's also concerning microplastics. So start with the single-use plastic directive. What it is about, it's a ban of certain single-use plastics like cutlery, plates, straws, drink stirrers, and some food containers, but also the cotton bud and balloon sticks, and also different kind of plastic bags, and all products made of oxo-biodegradable plastics, cigarette butts, cups, and beverage containers, and also the wet wipes and sanitary items. Then we have this REACH regulation. I was telling it's banning or going to ban different primary microplastics, and not only microplastics, but this granular infill of the artificial turfs, which is interesting a bit that not the whole turf, but only the granular infill. So it's a ban of certain synthetic polymer microparticles that are placed on the market on their own or in mixtures, and if they are placed in the market in the form of mixtures. Microplastics cannot exceed 0.01 weight percentage in the mixture. So that has to be analyzed somehow in the future. However, the methodology of this analysis is not described by the legislation. What is synthetic microparticles in under the REACH regulation? These are particles that are containing polymers, solid polymers, non-biodegradable, non-water soluble. They have to meet certain size ranges that we are usually using nowadays in microplastic definitions, and they are containing more than 1% by weight of polymers of forms of continuous coatings. Excuse me. This is the perfect flu season. And also there are some criteria that if they lose their if they lose their microplastic characteristics, then there is an exclusion for those. So here you can see the list of the different deadlines when different products will be banned under the REACH regulation. So there is this freshly released Urban Wastewater Treatment Directive, which also considers microplastics, for example, in sludge, especially when it's used in agriculture. So microplastics should be systematically monitored. Also, the stormwater overflow discharges and discharges of urban runoff from separate systems have to be monitored, and inlets and outlets of wastewater treatment plants. These are the ongoing standardization initiatives on microplastics. There are certain standards already out, for example, ASTM standards. But if we are concerning ISO standardization and some standardization, these are the initiatives, and especially these are the most important ones when we are talking about microplastics in drinking water. So what is actually in the EU Drinking Water Directive, which is not a standard, but it describes the methodology for sampling of microplastics and also analysis of microplastics in drinking waters. So there has to be a cascade filtration done to 20 micrometer be done, and at least 1,000 liters of sample have to be taken. Subsampling has to be avoided in the lab, so all these sample volume has to be processed optimally in the lab. And Raman or FTIR or QCL-IR analysis is accepted, but pyrolysis is not. There are 10 priority polymers that has to be tackled, and particles have to be reported per different size categories, and also fibers and fragments have to be reported separately. There are strict QA/QC protocols that has to be followed in the lab. The big question that who, when, and with what frequency has to do this monitoring in drinking water treatment plants, this is not described in the directive. What are these QA/QC requirements? There has to be an experimental verification, which has to be done during the whole process. So samples has to be spiked during the sampling with at least 2 priority polymers with 2 different densities in 2 different size categories and with 50 to 150 particles, and then we have to reach plus minus 40% recovery. And then also 10 procedural blanks needed to be analyzed to get a good background data. There are some thoughts about this regulation, because PTF is also included in the 10 priority polymers, but it's a question if it's really need to be there, because it has a higher density than 2.0 grams per liter, but the solids that are used in microplastic sample preparation are usually not reaching this high density. That's also questionable if 1:3 aspect ratio is really a fiber or not really a fiber. And as I already said, it's a very broad size range from 20 to 5,000 micrometers. So probably it should be narrowed a little bit. And also the 1 millimeter and bigger particles probably irrelevant in drinking water. Also, we have to consider the costs. So this scheme to analyze 2 sample filters and 2 blank filters for one individual sample, that extremely increases the costs. And it's also questionable, why do we need the blank for 100 micrometer? And also, it's not only for the drinking water directive, but we need reference materials to test the recoveries of the methods for sampling and also for sample preparation. So what is a general microplastic analysis workflow after sampling? We have density separation. If it's needed, there is alkaline or enzymatic digestion as well, oxidation and filtration. Whenever we have the final filtrates on a filter, there can be an FTIR microspectroscopy conducted for different polymers, or we can also analyze the sample with pyrolysis GCMS, which provides total mass data. Actually, this is not accepted in the case of the EU Drinking Water Directive, probably because of the expectation of low particle numbers, thus very low particle mass as well. So in the frame of the EU Drinking Water Directive, we have to focus on particle numbers. But the good point in these two techniques that these can be combined. So after particle number analysis, this is non-destructive technique, we can still analyze the sample for the total polymer mass. And please be aware that polymer mass reported based on particle numbers are most probably inaccurate and only a very rough extrapolation. So we have this instrumentation in our lab. These are 2 different FTIR microscopes for particle number analysis, but we also have a pyrolysis GCMS to analyze the total polymer mass in the samples. Why it is very important to get harmonized, standardized methodologies, because if there will be regulation, and there is already regulation in terms of EU Drinking Water Directive, someone has to do at the end these kind of monitoring programs in drinking water, and maybe later on in surface water, if we have this urban wastewater treatment directive, then in wastewater as well. So it is very important to collect these data on a harmonized and standardized approach. And this is a good quality indication of different commercial labs if they have accreditation that is based on standardized methods. So we already started this accreditation process, and we are accredited under certain released and ongoing standardization initiatives to analyze different water and solid matrices with both techniques. Just an interesting question that maybe not only water, but other food matrices will be interesting in the future. So thank you very much for your attention. Please place your questions in the chat box.
Take over first.
Yeah. I'll take over the first question. That is this website is only for drinking water? What about the microplastic in rivers? And the related question is the second question is related. Since we are working on the interface between river and groundwater, this question is important. Yes, the focus of our project is on drinking water. However, the sources we target 3 sources: the groundwater, like intergranular and karstic water, as well as the river water, surface water. So although the focus on the drinking water, we encourage you to add your data to the website. Our partner from Czech Republic, they work on the riverbank filtration, which is also, I think, related to the second questions, the interface between the river and groundwater.
Then we have a question: is EU Drinking Water Directive policy available, publicly available? Yes, at the EURLEX site. Couldn't we ensure that methodologies proposed for drinking water and wastewater are kept distinct, considering that they are entirely different matrices and cannot be quantified in the same way? On some extent, yes. Of course, there are some similarities in the analysis of drinking water and wastewater in terms of sample preparation, and also in terms of analysis. So, as far as I know, the upcoming ISO standards will consider these kind of differences in the sample preparation that will be necessary. As said, the EU Drinking Water Directive contains a methodology, but this is not a standard. So whenever we will have standards, they should identify these differences. And also, as far as I know, the Urban Wastewater Treatment Directive doesn't contain any methodology at the moment. Then a very interesting question: do you know if the European Commission is addressing the concerns about the current regulation on microplastics? Are there ongoing discussions with them to clarify or revise the methodology or differentiations to better reflect these doubts? Yeah, that's a very good question. As far as I know, EU JRC is following different projects that are concerning microplastics, microplastic analysis, and especially those projects that are focusing on quality of these analyses. As far as I know, member states have the possibility on some extent to give a feedback to these regulations, but this was already done before the release of the delegated act. So what is currently going on, unfortunately, is a bit unclear for me, because we are not such an organization that is on this national level to interact with JRC. So we will see what comes out. So are there any other questions? If there are no more questions, then I really appreciate that you made and come to our webinar. Thank you very much for joining us. You can follow Microdrink projects on different social media platforms and also on the Interreg website. So please follow up, and hopefully we will be able to answer those questions in the future that couldn't be answered at the moment because of the lack of information. But as we are progressing with the Microdrink project, hopefully we will also have a good good board with different experts, and we will have a good communication with these institutions in the EU. So let's keep up the good work. Thank you very much.
There is one question, Gábor.
Okay. Do you plan to work on developing quantification methods for wastewater or creating a database that includes this information? In the Microdrink project, this is not our goal, because here we are focusing on drinking water resources and drinking waters. So thank you very much. If there is no other question, then I'm closing this webinar for today. Hopefully see you soon. Goodbye.